Dan, welcome.
Great to talk to you, Tom. Thanks for having me on your great show.
What makes a person mature?
I guess you feel like you've finally grown up. You and I have got a way to go. Hey, I got to ask you something.
Sure.
It's been very cold in New York. It's been so cold. Now, you're supposed to say how cold.
How cold is it, Dan?
It's been so cold that I actually saw a liberal politician with his hands in his own pockets.
Bump. So, what's wrong with a little socialism? The democratic socialist countries of the world, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Denmark, Germany, the countries that Iceland, openly and proudly call themselves democratic socialist, are doing the best of all the countries on earth. Their quality of life is higher, their lifespan is longer, their people are happy, they're not having the mass murders that we're having, they don't have homeless people, they don't have people dying of diseases that could have been prevented. What the hell's wrong with a little bit of socialism?
Yeah, I actually think a little bit of socialism isn't the problem. It's when you have a lot of socialism. You know, I heard your rant before, which wasn't a rant. It was actually a thoughtful, driven diatribe.
Well, it was a summary of Russell Kirk's book that was the founding document for Barry Goldwater and William F. Buckley, who I knew.
You quoted Ayn Rand, and a lot of us conservatives, we don't read out of the same hymn book as she does.
Yeah.
But I understand. But you were saying about how conservatives want to do away with the middle class, and the truth is the conservatives' goal is to have a huge middle class. The conservatives want to do away with class, and our president wants to establish these sharp lines and separate us by class. I don't know.
So you want to do away with class. Are you suggesting that the Koch brothers, who are sitting on $50 billion, should take, say, $49 billion of that?
More so than Soros. So let's talk down.
Okay, are you saying that George Soros, who's sitting on $3 or $4 billion, should give all but $1 billion of it to what? The Social Security Fund?
Anybody should tell them where to give the money except themselves. You know, let me tell you, but you talked about big, giant corporations. A guy named Judson Branch, he started Allstate. And I was at a meeting, I was an Allstate agent years ago, and he stood up and he said, if profit is the heart of a business, then social responsibility should be its soul. That was the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, and that's what most true conservatives believe in. We have a social obligation.
That's what the Republican, that's what Barry Goldwater believed in. That's what Everett Dirksen believed in. That's what my dad and Dwight Eisenhower believed in.
Yes.
That is not, Dan Weber, and you know it as well as I do, that is not what Mitch McTurtle, whatever his name is, believes in. That's not what John Boehner believes in. These guys are they're basically toadies for billionaires.
I actually think their biggest problem isn't that. It's just that they got to have a little more courage and show a little more leadership. We've got to solve
what does that mean?
Problems. Well,
give me an example.
Social Security. I've met with people on Harkin's staff, liberal Democrat. I've met with people on Hatch's staff, conservative Republican. They both want to solve the Social Security problem. There's nobody leading on either side of the aisle.
What problem?
That it's not solvent.
The Social Security is fine. It's got $2.7 trillion in its trust fund. 2016,
the disability fund, the trust fund is going to run out of money.
2027.
No, we're talking the disability segment.
Okay.
That's 30% of Social Security.
So why don't we just, you're right, it is about a third of Social Security. Why don't we simply, conservatives love flat taxes. Why don't we make the Social Security tax a flat tax? Why should it be a tax that only falls on people who make under $113,000? Why is it that somebody who makes $15,000 a year, they're below the level of poverty, they're living on cat food?
You're an intelligent man, and there's no reason why that can't be negotiated. Along with, how about this? In 2008, 2009, there was no increase in Social Security because there was no COLA, even though the gas went up $1 a gallon. AMAC's proposal on Social Security is to give a minimum 1.65 increase, no matter what COLA is, even if it says it's zero, to low-income Americans. That's a conservative idea. That's not a liberal idea.
Oh, wait a minute. There's a poison pill in there, and that's the too low-income Americans. Why not give it to everybody? Because it sounds to me like what you're trying to do is turn Social Security into a welfare program.
A page out of the president's book here. The upper-income folks, if they get a 1.65 instead of a 3% increase, by the way, we're capping higher income people at 1.65.
Why?
Those two things will make to make it solvent.
No.
So the last 80
The total
years,
number of wealthy people who are taking Social Security, you could fill a large ballroom here in Washington, D.C. with. It's an irrelevant number of people. What you guys are trying to do is you're trying to turn Social Security into a welfare program, because you know that welfare programs, when Americans say, oh, we're going to cut welfare, everybody goes, yeah, okay, cool, do that. To hell with poor people. But, you say you're going to cut Social Security. Oh, no, we're not going to do that. So let's do it piece by piece. Let's start with the rich people, and then we'll redefine the rich people as those making over $100,000 a year, and then we'll define it as those making over $50,000.
Do away with those class discrimination things.
Yeah, I don't believe it. That sounds to me like weasel words. Respectfully, Dan.
I understand where you're coming from. We have a different point of view, that's for sure.
So how do you get rid of class?
How do you get rid of class?
You said you want to get rid of class, but you don't want to take money away from billionaires. The two things don't seem to be.
What you do is what Reagan said. You raise the tide and everybody's boat goes up. What conservatism does, it gives people jobs.
Reagan cut taxes on rich people, doubled taxes on working people, and borrowed $2.5 trillion to create a bubble economy. You're suggesting we should do that?
That's what the president suggested. That's what Nancy Pelosi said.
No, they're not suggesting that at all. They're not suggesting Reaganomics. Nobody's suggesting Reaganomics.
Let's forget about the past and talk about the future. Let's talk about some new ideas. How about getting both sides of the aisle together and solving these things piece by piece?
Well, because the Republican side of the aisle is run by crazies, and they don't want to talk. They'd rather grandstand. They want to turn Social Security over to the guys on Wall Street because, hey, there's $2.7 trillion. Imagine what you can skim off of that. But Dan, we're gonna have to live to debate this another day. Check out AMAC, AMAC.us, the Association of Mature American Citizens. Dan, thanks for being with us.
Good one.
Good talking with you.